Welcome to the Hotties and Horror Movies podcast, where your hottie hosts, Sanka and Wendy, break down their weekly horror movie binge.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode. So Wendy is a little tied up for the next couple of weeks, so you'll be stuck with me. Hopefully we'll have some fun. If you're a new listener, make sure you go and follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Patreon. We have a lot of fun stuff that we release on there, and we will have a reaction video to the movie we are discussing today. If you're a returning listener, thank you. We appreciate you, and we hope you enjoy. Today we are discussing Hatching, a Finnish movie that was released earlier this year, and it was surprisingly good. I didn't have very high expectations for the movie. I did watch the trailer and it looked interesting enough to warrant a watch, but I wasn't really sure what to expect. I didn't think it was going to be that great, and it wasn't great, but it was a decent watch and probably a one-time watch, I would say, as well. But yeah, it was definitely pretty disgusting in some points though. If you have a weak stomach, you might want to look away at a few scenes, because I really gagged 3 times. I came so close to throwing up on one of them. It was not even funny. But anyway, let's get into the summary. So the movie is about a 12-year-old gymnast. Her name is Tinja, and she has a very image-obsessed mother. She's a blogger, and I think she has a YouTube channel or something she's posting videos to. And she is very obsessed with creating the perfect image of her family, when in fact they are anything but perfect. So one day, after finding a wounded bird in the woods and proceeding to kill it, Tinja brings its strange egg that she finds just sitting next to it, not even in a nest, and she brings it home with her. And she puts it into her bed, trying to keep it warm, and basically tries to look after it. And eventually, there's a few things that happen in between. We'll discuss it a bit more in the detailed plot. I don't want to give away any huge spoilers right now. But basically, it grows, and eventually it hatches. And out comes this creature that is terrifying and disgusting, and they did a fantastic job with making it seem very realistic. I wouldn't if I was imagining this thing in real life, that's how I would think it would look. It was all slimy and just very gross. But she basically looks after this thing, and it becomes like a friend to her, and she's looking after it and feeding it, and they start looking out for one another. But actually this apologies, that is my dog. He's being very needy right now. He's he's sitting on a computer chair right next to me and watching my screen, but apparently he wants to be part of the podcast too. But anyway, so this creature becomes like a nightmare, and it's doing things that Tinja doesn't want it to do. And eventually, I'm not going to spoil the twist. We'll talk about that in detail, so keep listening. But basically, it turns into this twisted creature, and the mother and everyone around her is just not seeing it for what it is. They're all a little bit confused, and I think that's where I can leave the spoiler-free summary. I really don't want to spoil it because it's a pretty good movie. But anyway, at face value, this wasn't the greatest horror flick, but it does really attempt to cover some very relevant issues. And the creature is pretty much a symbol of Tinja's violent breakdown, and it's kind of like her own kind of hatching into, the adult world of secrets and delusions and lies. And it's basically like a coming of age story that has this crazy horror creature twist. But yeah, I think let's get into the detailed plot now. If you think the movie sounds worth a watch, go and have a look at it now. and then come back and listen to the rest of this podcast. But yeah, I would definitely recommend the movie. It was pretty good. It was done very well, and not much of it was like super cringy in terms of, the acting was good, the special effects were really good. It was a well-made movie, but there were some things I wish they changed. So stay tuned and we'll go through the detailed plot. We start the movie off with the family. So we've got the mother and the father. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce their names because I will get it completely wrong. It's not really that important, so we'll skip past that. And she has a younger brother as well. So the father and the brother don't play a major role in the movie. The father is a bit of like a people pleaser, I suppose, and kind of doesn't want to get involved in anything too much and just kind of sits back. And the brother is just a little shit. He's just a brat, and just causes a few little problems for Tinja, but he's not a very big part of the storyline. So the mother works as an internet influencer and she runs like a video blog, YouTube kind of setup. And we open up in a scene with the whole family sitting in their living room. It's a very nice decorated living room. Probably fits in with the whole influencer lifestyle. And they're sitting there recording a video to show the love and affection of their family. And then there is a loud thud through the window and a crow smashes the window and flies inside, wreaking all kinds of havoc. Now, I actually, when I heard the title of this movie and I started to watch the trailer, I was really terrified it was going to be all about birds because I am really scared of birds. I cannot even tell you. It's such a like legitimate fear for me. I just I don't know. And here in Australia, we've got magpies that swoop on you. So I think I have every right to be scared, but I'm very glad that this movie didn't take the turn of being all about birds because I wouldn't have been able to take it. But anyway, this bird flies through the window and ends up injuring itself. And Tinja picks it up and, takes it to her mother and she's like, I don't know, wondering if, I think she puts it into a towel and like trying to soothe it. And the mother takes it from her and just snaps its neck. Now, it's probably for the best. Like the bird probably wouldn't have survived like the injuries that it had, but it was a bit cruel and it kind of showed like the character of the mother like straight away, in the fact that she tries to portray herself as loving and affectionate, but in reality she's not. But yeah, so Tina gets instructed to take it outside, which she does, and she puts it in their compost bin. So later that night, Tina gets woken up by a lot of bird noises coming from outside, and she goes out to check where she disposed of the crow, and surprise, surprise, it's no longer in the trash can. So she weirdly walks out into like a forest that's behind their house or something, trying to find this bird that's making all the noise. Don't know why you would do that. Very stupid idea, especially in the evening when it's very dark. But that's just me. So she comes across this bird and it's laying there on the floor really injured. So she decides to put it out of its misery as her mother had done earlier. And she grabs a rock and starts pounding this poor bird. It took a solid like 10 hits before the bird was dead, and it was like mincemeat by that point. It was very disturbing. But as Tina goes to look up, she sees just near the bird there is a small egg that is just laying there on the ground. I don't think it was even in a nest. But she decides to pick up the egg and take it home with her, and she puts it in her bed, try to keep it warm. I don't know. I suppose her goal was to hatch it eventually. I don't really know. But anyway, we go to the next day, and Tina is a gymnast, so she's practicing at her school, and her mum wants her to participate in an upcoming gymnastics competition. Now, from the very short time that we saw her, we were really quick to establish that she doesn't really have any friends, and I suppose she's a little bit shy, but she doesn't really have that interaction because her mum hasn't allowed her to go and make friends or to go and, I don't know, do the normal, child things, play with other people and explore different things. There's another girl there who is actually their neighbor. We were introduced to them a little bit earlier in the movie, and she's also in the gymnastics team, and they start having a chat and start to become friends. And Tinja's mum notices this, and she kind of comes over and she tries to, just the things that she says, it kind of like trying to make them see each other as rivals and competitors rather than just letting them be friends, which was really sad. And I was hoping the daughter would at least get to make this one friend because this girl seemed really sweet and really nice to her. But anyway, it's not what we're going for. So not much else really happens, and then we go to a scene where the girl is coming home and she walks in on her mother and another man in the living room. He's like standing on a ladder fixing something, and she sees her mother reach over and like touch his leg, and then he comes down and they start kissing. That was a little bit weird. She kind of just goes off to her room, and then later that night her mum comes into her room and just kind of says, she's really happy and she's found someone that she really likes, and it's going to be their little secret. She doesn't have to say anything, which was fucking very strange. I hope no one does this to their kids because it's so awful. It's terrible parenting. Yeah, this poor girl. She's already got so many issues, and now we're just going to pile it up. From here, we see the egg again, and it's grown. It seems to have grown quite a bit, actually. Not even like your standard. It was more like an ostrich egg at this point. She eventually like rips open her teddy and like stuffs the egg inside the teddy to keep it warm. The way the egg is growing is basically every time something like not even bad, but just something that's a little bit traumatic or causes some issues to Tanya, the egg seems to grow. So like seeing her mum with the guy and then her telling her it's our little secret, that made the egg grow. And then the next day I think the mum told her that she was in love with this guy, and like her dad knows about it and all that, and then the egg grew even more, and then there's all this stuff about the competition, and then the egg just kept growing. And I think on the night that it actually hatched, Tinja had gone in and she was like crying and cuddling the egg, and her tears were falling down onto the eggshell and they were just being absorbed by the eggshell. And then it started to crack. And the thing that came out of this egg was so gross. It was like, mind you, the egg was the size of a fucking Mini Cooper at this point. It was massive. Like, it took up most of her bed. We see the eggshell cracking, and then we can see the eye of this bird, and then we see the beak, and it's all slimy, and it's got these little like feathers on it, but they're all slimy, and it was just so gross. But so it comes out of this eggshell, and there's like, I don't know, blood and like all these juices coming out of the egg. It's all over her bed and her bed sheets, which, a plot hole by the way, how did nobody notice this massive egg in her room that was sitting there for like, I don't know, a week, or I don't really know how long it had been, but I'm sure it was about that time. So nobody went into her room and noticed this massive egg on her bed. And then later when it did hatch, nobody noticed the massive like blood and eggshells, and how did she even dispose of it? It's not like she does her own laundry. I don't know. She gets scared of the creature gets scared of her, they kind of scream, and I think the dad like goes to come into the room, and the creature escapes out through the window and smashes the window. And the next day the family just like taped up the window with cardboard. Very weird. I don't know. Like, I'm sure they could have gotten someone out to fix it the next day. I don't know why it had to be cardboard, but whatever. And then the next night, the creature comes back and like pokes his head through the cardboard and then like comes in again. Very fucking strange. This movie was so disgusting. I think Tina kind of... Oh yeah, and then when it came in, it obviously had the glass and it was stuck in its arm, and it kind of offered its arm up to Tina to, help it. And oh my gosh, this next scene. So she pulls out the glass shard out of its hand, and then she notices, oh, this bird is like really dirty. Maybe I need to give it a bath. So she takes it into their bathroom and she puts it in the bathtub and fills it up with water and bubbles. And she's bathing this fucking bird. It is so fucking ridiculous. I hope you go and watch our reaction video because it was so gross. It was so fucking strange. Eventually they go to bed and the bird is like, I can't remember if it was sleeping in the bed with her. I think it was like sleeping next to her or something. And while Tina is asleep, there's the next door neighbor's dog that is barking and being like really annoying, and she's getting really frustrated with it. So she's sleeping and she starts kind of like shaking, like almost having a seizure. And we don't see what's happening, obviously. And then we just hear the dog screech. And next minute, the bird creature is standing over the top of Tina. And the dog has been beheaded and is laying next to Tina with like all of its blood and guts, everything hanging out right next to her in bed. And the creature, like the blood is like oozing off its mouth down onto Tina. And my gosh, I nearly threw up. Like I'm pretty sure that I did throw up. It was so disgusting. Ugh, gross. Tina also throws up, and then the bird creature goes and eats her throw up. This is when Tina kind of realizes that, hey, actually, I think I need to be throwing up and feeding this bird the way that, normal birds would be feeding their young. Which is a very fucking odd realization, and I don't like where it went. The next day, fucking hell. The next day, Tina goes to a pet store and she's looking at like bird seed and stuff. And there's girls, the neighbor and a couple of girls from gymnastic class are there, and they're like, oh, do you have a bird? Tina's like, no, we're looking at getting one. And then she buys a bag of bird seed and takes it home and starts eating it herself. She starts eating the seed and then throwing it up for the bird to eat. It was so disgusting. I don't know. Oh, I don't like the way that my brain works because I could actually smell the fucking bird seed and the throw up. I don't know how, but I hated it. I hated every minute of it. It was disgusting. But anyway, Tina continues to nurture this thing, and she even dresses it up in one of her dresses and tries to make it look very pretty, which it is not. And she gives it the name Ali, which is like from some lullaby that they'd been singing earlier in the movie. So at least we have something to call it by. But so we're nearing closer to the gymnastics competition at this point, and Tina's mum is putting more and more pressure on her and trying to cause more of a rift between her and this other girl that she's befriended. We also saw that the reason the mum is like this and pushing her like so much pressure on Tina is because she herself used to be a figure skater and she got a injury, and we can see like a big scar on her leg, which we assume has prevented her from competing. So now she's trying to live through her daughter and kind of impose her dreams onto her, which I kind of understand. Like I used to do ice skating myself and kind of had to stop because I was very injury prone. So I understand not being able to do something you love, but I don't understand forcing it onto someone else and not even considering whether they want to do this. Like, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. All the mother is really getting out of this is, gratification of her daughter winning trophies, being able to post about it online. I suppose it's like another thing to add to their, perfect lifestyle, I suppose. I don't know. I don't get it. But moving on, that night, I think the mother offered Rita, which is the girl that lives next door, I think they offered her a ride back home, but she said no. I don't remember. I thought in the movie that they didn't offer, and I was a bit mad about that. But later on, when I read about it, I think they said that she did. This girl is walking home in the dark, in the not in the woods, but down a road that is surrounded by woods. It doesn't seem very smart to me. They live next door to each other. They could have easily taken her home, and even if she'd said no, any responsible mother would have insisted. Like, who would let a child walk home at night? Tinja's sitting in the car, and she again starts feeling something strange is about to happen, and she starts getting like that seizure again, like she had when she's been sleeping. And then we cut to the scene of Rita walking down the road, and we can see that Ali's kind of sneaking up on her, and a few suspense build up moments, but basically Ali's snuck up on her, and now we see her face, and the beak of the creature is actually gone. She ripped it off herself, so she was trying to transition to look less like a bird and more like a human. She's starting to get more human features, and that's why the beak was also gone. And we don't see at the time what happened to Rita, but a little bit later on we find out that she's gone to hospital and she'd been like really badly mauled, like attacked. She's not dead, but she was not well either. They get home, and Tinja and Ali kind of meet up in her bedroom again, and she sees the detached beak lying there. And also the creature is now like growing hair also, and at this point, but not really at this point, it was a little bit later on, we see more of a resemblance to Tinja, which is very creepy. This is like, I can't say at this point of the movie I knew where it was going, but it was like starting now looking back, I'm like, oh yeah, I can see where they were going with this. Also, side note, Tinja just had like pretty much a seizure in the car, and the mother didn't make a big deal out of it. Like, how can you not insist on getting any tests done on your child that's never had seizures before, and now she's just had one in front of you? So, what? That's another thing that really annoyed me about this movie, because someone who not normally doesn't have seizures suddenly has one, and you just brush it off, or like they didn't even talk about it. So the next day, the mother suggests taking Tinja to her boyfriend's house, the guy that we saw in the beginning. His name is Tero. I don't really know. We had to read a lot of subtitles, and I can't remember how they pronounced his name. Sorry. Tinja's father actually knows about this whole plan, and he seems to support it. And he says that the guy's pretty nice, and I don't know, he just wants the mother to be happy. I mean, fuck, good on him, but like, I couldn't do that. They drive over to his house, and it's revealed that the guy is actually a widower, and his wife died during childbirth, and he has a baby girl that he's looking after. And now the mother, the way that she acts with the baby is really like loving and nurturing, and just like a normal parent would be. And she's actually really nice to the baby. And Tinja sees this, and she's like, what the hell? Where has this been my whole life? Like, I haven't had any of this. And I think it wasn't really shown that much, but there's like a little bit of jealousy starting to form there. And I think the creature, Ali, was picking up on that. This will make sense once we talk about the next couple of scenes. But I think that's where that was stemming from, because the mother was just acting so nice to this baby that she only just met, and the daughter, Tinja, could never get that kind of affection from her, even though she was doing everything the mother wanted. She was performing in all of these gymnastics competitions. She was doing nothing that she wanted to do, but everything the mother wanted, but still wasn't getting all of this love. So It was quite sad to see actually for her. That night, Ali also follows Tina to the house and she appears outside the window, and we can now see that there's some flesh growing over the empty mouth where like the beak had been, where she'd ripped it off. So she's growing more like, I think she had like human teeth growing at this point, and she's becoming more human looking and more looking like Tina. But it's obviously still not speaking, so it only can shriek and make noises really. But she brings it inside and like tries to calm it down, and the creature was kind of like, I'm trying to see this kind of as the metaphor of like growing up, all these issues that are affecting her, and you know, she's trying to deal with all of this and processing it all. So from that point of view, I think the creature was quite distressed when it came to that house. And if I try to think about it now, it's kind of Tina's trying to calm it down and like console it. And at the same time, I can kind of see her doing that to herself, like about the parents' marriage and, you know, this new person that's coming into their lives and this baby. And she's just trying to like calm herself down as well. As much as she's doing it for the creature, she's also doing it for herself. It was kind of very symbolic to me, that scene. Not too much happening here. Like the next day, Tara is outside and Tina's trying to show him some of her gymnastics moves, and she keeps messing it up. And she's like, no, wait, I can do it better. And he's like, why do you need to do it better? It's fine. And she's like, no, it has to be the best. Which is really sad. Like that's all coming from the mum and the way that she's been, you know, raising her and putting so much pressure on her. And then later that day, I think the mum was out, and Tiro walks into, or he hears noises, and he walks into Tina's room, and he sees, so Tina had run up to hide behind the door to try and keep it closed, but he'd opened it a little bit, and he saw the creature there hanging over a bowl, and it was eating the vomit that Tina had put into the bowl, very kindly. And because now they're looking so similar and she's wearing a dress and everything, he mistakes the creature for Tina, and he thinks that she has a problem of, you know, she's making herself throw up, making her sick, you know, trying to, I don't know, be skinny. Or he obviously doesn't make the connection or think there's a creature, because what normal person would think that? But yeah, he like tries to talk her and says, you know, we need to talk to your mother about this. This is a problem. Like that doesn't really go anywhere. But yeah, it was, I don't know, interesting that he saw the creature as Tina, because like to us, obviously we can see the big difference, but I would understand how someone could mistake them. So now it's time for Tina's gymnastics competition. So the mother comes and takes her and drives her there, and the baby, and she kind of like tries to insist that the mother bring the baby with them, because she was feeling like something was going to happen, and she thought that the creature was going to attack it, which she was correct. But no, the baby ended up staying home with the father. So she was really worried about that. And then we pan to a scene. So Tina's at the competition. It's about her time to start performing, and she can feel the connection with Ali, and she's going into the room with the baby, and I think she was carrying an axe, and she was planning to kill it. And just as she comes up to the baby, Tinja, with her gymnastics that she was doing, she decides to injure herself. She like falls down onto her arm and hurts herself, which kind of disrupts the connection with Ali, and it gives Tara the amount of time to walk into the baby's room and to see Ali jumping out of the window and running away. And of course he mistakes her for Tinja and gets really upset. And when they eventually come back home, he's like fully raging. You know, he's about to leave the house and saying they need to leave, and you know, the daughter tried to attack the baby, which like I understand, but where is this guy's like logic coming from? Because she was literally with her mother the whole time. They just came home, and she was on live stream on her mother's blog, so there was clearly proof that she was not at the house. How would he not question what he saw? it was just a little bit dumb. Like, I really liked this guy up until that point because he didn't think it through. And I suppose as a parent, like seeing something like that, you probably wouldn't be thinking rationally at the time. But yeah, still. I think I'm gonna try and summarize the ending a little bit because a few things happened, but not really much happened of interest. Like there was just one scene where the mother's like shooting a video, and then she goes into Tinja's room, but she finds the creature sitting there instead, and it's like facing away from her, so she doesn't notice that it's not Tinja, and she starts brushing its hair, and as she's brushing, it fucking rips out a huge chunk of like skin off its skull. And it was so fucking disgusting. Ugh, so bad. Like I actually felt it when it happened. I like felt the pain on my head. It was so bad. But from that moment, then the creature attacks the mother, and Tina runs in and like intervenes and tries to explain everything to the mother and like how she hatched it, and she nurtured this thing and it hatched. It's hers, and I don't really remember what else she said, but yeah, basically they just try and kill this thing, get rid of it. But in the process, the mum's like running forward to stab the creature, but Tina moves in front of it, and the knife ends up stabbing Tina in the chest instead of the creature. But yeah, so Tina ends up dying, and this creature is left over. And as Tina like dies, her blood falls into the mouth of the creature, and its like cheekbones come together, and its whole facial feature, everything, like the skin grows and everything repairs itself, and she ends up looking exactly like Tina, like completely the same, except she's got like a scar on her face. And she looks up the mum and says, "Mother." So, and then that's where the movie ended. It just black screen. I was like, what? How can this be the ending? There's so much like nonsense in the movie, and then this is just how it ends. Tinja's dead, and we're left with the creature that now looks exactly like her and can apparently now speak. So what's going to happen? Is the mother going to kill it as well? Are they going to just adopt it and mold it into a new version of Tinja? I don't know. I'm completely speculating here, but probably the mother will want to mold it into, what she thinks is a perfect daughter. And probably the creature will not want to do that. So, yeah, it was a very strange ending, but it was okay. It was not a bad movie. I think for me, what would have made this a little bit better, or we probably would have gotten a better like, oh, I get it moment, if maybe the creature hadn't actually been set up to be real. So if it was like a hallucination, or it was all in Tinja's head, so it was kind of like showing all of her issues and her trauma and everything in the creature, but she was the only one who could see it. Maybe, I feel like, I don't know, maybe they could have gotten the whole like metaphor spin out a lot better if that was the case. But the way that they set it up, there was no way that the creature couldn't have been real. But yeah, all in all, I think it was a pretty good movie. The whole meaning behind it, I kind of had to, Google it and do a bit more research to try and understand it a little bit better. But the movie itself was pretty decent. It was done pretty well. The special effects were pretty good. And it's pretty much just the story of this daughter that's growing up. The mum is too obsessed with having the perfect image, and is imposing all of her dreams onto the child and making her, pretty much living through her. And then Tinja on her side has all these dark and suppressed wishes and desires that she can't act upon, and she's bottling everything up inside, and now they all get expressed. Oh my goodness, Goose. Oh goodness. Did you like this movie? No, he says he didn't like this movie. It was very gross. But Yeah, so basically all of this stuff that she's kept bottled up inside is being expressed through this creature. And it's just, to me, it kind of like represents, I don't know, her inner conscience, or yeah, like her trauma, I suppose. But yeah, everything that it did, it was pretty much acting on her desires, on Tinja's desires. So yeah, look, it was not the most straightforward movie, but it was good enough. It wasn't like scary, but it was a bit gory. It was pretty gross in parts. Definitely a one-time watch. Do I think it's worth watching? Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's not gonna win any awards, but it is pretty good. Like for what it is, it's a good movie. I think I'm gonna give it a 2 out of 5, and yeah, okay. I think Goose has had enough, and I think I'm gonna have to wrap this up. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and remember to follow us and look for our reaction video on this movie because it's gonna be fun. If you completely hated this solo episode, please let me know in the comments. It's completely fine. We just thought we'd try it out because, we're pretty busy and it's hard to line up both of our schedules sometimes, but, it's just life. And we didn't want to miss a couple of weeks of podcasts. We thought we'd just release something. So, yeah, I hope you had a good time. I definitely did. And I am actually off to watch